Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 64. All right, welcome back, everybody. What's going on, Jay?
Welcome back. All right.
Yeah, once again here, Jay, we got him here to record here in person in the studio here, and we banked a couple of episodes here today. Not gonna hide it as my shirt's the same from literally last episode. But yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good, checking these episodes out, talking about them as always, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe and to the channel. Thank you for everybody for checking these shows out. And this is our Game of Thrones review show, essentially overview, where we go back and we break down each episode, talk about all the scenes and what our thoughts on it. And this is my first time ever revisiting the show, and this is JT's first time watching this show. So yeah, it's been really interesting in terms of our discussion back and forth in that regard, and we've had some great guests on. And stay tuned. Hopefully we'll get some more towards the end of the show wrap up. And stay tuned for House of the Dragon. Directly after this, we'll be doing House of the Dragon for you guys. So just as a reminder,
I can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So yeah, but 64th episode of this. Make sure to go back and check out the playlist of all these episodes here on the Late Night Chat Network if you want to ever watch any of them. It's been a lot of fun. And the episode that we're going to be talking about here today is season 7, episode 4, which is titled "The Spoils of War." All right, Jay, what did you think about this episode?
Very fun. Actually left another cliffhanger at the end, and we get to see what goes on there. It's very interesting. A lot of stuff happens really quick in this one too. Again,
yeah, I mean, this is, I think, the episode that I was alluding to earlier when we were talking about this season overall, the pace of things, the way that everything's kind of lining up and everything's kind of, they're connecting all the dots. This is the most episode of that so far I think we've had this season. So in one way, it's not that great of an episode, but in other ways, I gotta say, just jumping ahead, the last battle scene is probably the best the show has ever looked for any battle. I feel like we've had on the show so far. Honestly,
it's been the first decent one too now in a while.
I mean, I think the last season one with the Battle of the Bastards, that was a really good example of at least a well shot battle. Mm-hmm. But I think in terms of graphics, especially when the dragons ended up showing up in that scene, you gotta admit, Jay, I think this is the best it's ever looked the show in my opinion. And this is, again, looking at this with fresh eyes because I haven't seen these episodes in so long. And mind you, since this is this season 7, this is not that long ago in terms of years, probably like 5-6 years ago or something when this aired. So we're reaching a point now in terms of the graphics compared to today's graphics. Yeah, it's a little bit better than obviously how we started several years even before this in the first season, of course. But I think it looked good. That's what I mean. As much of a setup episode as this was, and literally, we're not going to really go deep with a lot of the scenes as we go through them because there's not much really to comment on, quite frankly. I think that this was a good episode for the ending. Again, kind of all set up, and then the last 10-15 fucking minutes were crazy of this episode. That's what I mean. So I don't think it's the best episode, but it really paid off, I think, in the end, how it looked, how it played out. Did you like that stuff at the end of this episode? Yeah.
So I was gonna say the CGI 10 years later in this season was probably a lot better than it was.
Yeah.
When they first started it off, maybe that's why you're seeing those kind of sequences and stuff.
Yeah.
That you might not have seen before.
Yeah. No, I think I just that was the one kind of note I made about this episode. The other thing too is when the episode started off was that this was only 50 fucking minutes this episode, which what the fuck?
I thought about that too.
What
I was looking at it.
Fuck? Yeah, even all the other episodes, 58 minutes. Some of them are going over an hour now because there's a lot to do now, in these last seasons. This is 50 fucking minutes this episode. So I was kind of what the hell? That was something I noticed right away when I started this episode, right? Yeah. I was just what?
And almost 2 minutes on the ending. Right. I'm in the credits and the intro.
So by the time you get that, it's a 46-minute episode, 47-minute episode. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. They're
It does feel like they're stinging out, eh?
it did. Like, because for me, these are the things you notice when you're watching it episode by episode and kind of taking notes as we have been, right? So that's something that the first thing I wrote on this episode was like when I went to press play, I'm like 50 minutes. I was like, the fuck, right? So, anyways, so yeah, Spoils of War.
A lot harder to write notes on this one too because it jumps so quickly unless you're pushing pause.
well, so here's the thing. So I print out, like I said, I've talked about it here before. I kind of add notes to the synopsis that I pull off a line, which is there's a Game of Thrones Wikipedia that does the synopsis of every episode. This is the longest printout I've ever fucking had for an episode. This one,
the shortest episode,
right? It's just, but to your point, it's because we're getting all these 2-minute fucking scenes that they're doing is set up everything in this episode. So like the descriptions of having to do every scene, like this is double the amount I normally have this episode from the printout. Which is crazy because when you actually get into it, there's not really much to say about a lot of these scenes. So like that's what I meant. Like it's kind of a shit episode in the same sense because all this setup and moving, the fast pacedness and stuff that we're experiencing with this season that are the complaints of a lot of people really is a fucking big, like this episode. If there's ever an episode that's been a representation of that, it's so far this season, it's this fucking episode. It really is. And then you get like a bit of payoff at the end with the big battle, but it's like they spent all this fucking money on that scene at the end of this episode after just a bunch of like nothing that happened this episode, right? So I don't know. It's interesting in that sense. But anyways, let's get into it here. At Highgarden, Jaime Lannister coordinates the soldiers loading up the spoils of war for transport.
The spoils of war.
The sack of Highgarden allowed
sound like a spoil. Sorry.
Allowed them to seize all of House Tyrell's substantial gold stores. And if you guys were wondering where they were going to get golds, there you go.
There you go.
All right. So they were talking about that last episode that she promised the bank she's going to get them all their money back. And here he robs equally the most other richest fucking
cost him a blowjob.
Yes, right. The richest family pretty much in the Westeros, essentially the Tyrells, right? I think they had mentioned before.
Yeah, you know what's funny? It's that she just dangles it across Euron's face, but she actually has to physically do something with Jaime for him to, go out and actually do this
right.
for her.
Well, she enjoys it with Jaime,
oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah,
but
brotherly love and sisterly love.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Anyways, which they send ahead to King's Landing first before moving on to securing grain shipments. Jaime procures a large bag of gold coins and gives it to Bronn as payment for his services. Nice to catch up with Bronn a bit this episode, I felt like. He's a big fucking part about this episode too, actually, so stay tuned. Yeah. Big fucking part. Bronn, however, is annoyed that this isn't the full reward he was promised, which included a wife from the nobility and a castle. He then half seriously asks why Jaime doesn't just grant him Highgarden as they need someone to rule it. Jaime replies that they were at war. Highgarden requires significant upkeep, and Daenerys could arrive at any moment to take it. When Bronn remarks on the riches Jaime is packing up, Jaime says that they are not his and the gold will be used to repay the Iron Bank. Bronn is not satisfied, and Jaime says that when they win the war, Bronn can choose from any castle he likes. He has Bronn assist Randall Tarly and Dickon Tarly continue seizing grain supplies in the Northern Reach. And that comes up later on in the episode too. So stay tuned for that. The Dickon bit.
Yeah, the Dickon thing. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but that's okay. I'll pass.
I thought this was a really good scene that exhibited how good of a leader Jaime can be too. Like he's kind of directing everybody around like what to do in this scene. And this is after obviously the win that they just experienced, right? Of outsmarting people. So like I think this is a big win for Jaime, and the way this episode ends, not so much, right? So like, this is like, you know what I mean? So I think like this is like one of Jaime's last big significant fucking wins here, possibly. I can't remember what happens, but I think this is like this is taking up the Tyrells. That's a pretty big thing that he did here, right? Yeah. Like so, yeah. I think it's he's kind of really happy with himself here. And I kind of like the back and forth with Bronn too. He's like, oh, why don't you just give me that castle over there? He's like, quite a big castles, right? You don't want that one. Like he always just talks down to Bronn all the time. He's just like, you're an idiot.
But it makes you wonder if they win, if he's going to actually keep his promise.
I think he would. Yeah.
I think Jaime. I mean, he's I just told you last episode that he seems to still be a nice guy in a sense, or at least getting nicer in certain ways. by sparing the brutal death for
Olenna.
Olenna. Yeah. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe he is being honest or maybe not.
Yeah.
Right. So, he better be after this episode.
Right. Yeah, really. And then in King's Landing, Queen Cersei Lannister is happy to learn of the gold taken from the sack of Highgarden. The Lannister army at Highgarden is currently transporting the gold ahead to the capital, though it remains in the north of the Reach, seizing grain supplies. Cersei meets with Tycho Nestoris of the Iron Bank at Bravos in her atrium, containing a large floor map of Westeros. He's pleased that Cersei will use. Well, go ahead. What were we gonna say?
That map was cool. I mean, I like the way they did that on the ground.
Very cool. Yeah,
very neat.
Tycho is pleased that Cersei will use the captured gold to pay off the Iron Throne's massive debts to the bank, and he engages in an overt flattery by saying that she is as cunning and military strategy as her father Tywin was, if not more so. Now that the Lannisters' old debts will be mostly paid off and the Iron Bank's faith in them somewhat reassured by their recent military victory, Cersei wants to take out new loans to strengthen her position in the war so she can finish securing control over the rest of the continent. They discussed that Cersei wants to use the money to hire foreign sellsword companies to bolster the depleted Lannister military ranks. Specifically, she reveals that she has had Qyburn take overtures to hire the best and largest private mercenary army in all of the free cities, the Golden Company.
So, foreign? Is she saying foreign mercenaries, you said?
Yeah.
Is she talking about other parts of the world?
Yeah, so they're basically, because they need to strengthen their armies, she's got him to pay for a private army, essentially, which they refer to as the Golden Company. And I guess this is to help their, help the fact that they're at war with Daenerys, right? And she knows about the Daenerys' army, and so I guess she's just trying to take extra measures here by hiring these people.
Okay.
Tycho approves, commenting that it would help the bank to collect significant overdue loans. He also assures Cersei that the Iron Bank will be delighted to help her with these future endeavors once it receives the gold she's bringing them, of course, right?
That right in the end. Just to throw that there.
I love how powerful the bank is. As I said last episode, it is really great because it does ring true today. It's still, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
They hold the key, man. If they got the money to lend, you got to pay it back.
Yeah, it's like there's so many countries in the world that actually are in debt like they are in this show, you know what I mean, as they go further and
this
further.
Is only like a single country. They're talking about these other people, that mercenaries and stuff they're going to hire from other countries, right?
Right.
Yeah. That you don't get to see.
Then we're over at Winterfell. Littlefinger meets with the recently returned Bran Stark, apparently hoping to exploit him among the Stark children. He tries to, ingratiate himself with Bran, Ned Stark's last trueborn son and rightful heir to Winterfell. Littlefinger gives Bran a gift, the very same Valyrian steel dagger. Valyrian steel, there's another one, that a cutthroat tried to kill him with while he was in a coma right after he was pushed from one of Winterfell's towers. Bran is still emotionally detached, however, because he's being fucking weird now, from all of his visions as the new three-eyed raven, and is generally uninterested, only absent-mindedly asking who the dagger belonged to.
He's in La La Land, bro. He must have been on drugs when they were filming this.
With a weird look, Littlefinger responds that, in a way, this is the question which started the entire War of the Five Kings. Bran's mother, Catelyn Stark, took the dagger south with her to King's Landing to try to find who it belonged to. Convinced, the Lannisters sent her to King's Landing to try to find who it belonged to. Convinced, the Lannisters sent the cutthroat to kill Bran and left it there in Ned's possession, from whom Littlefinger recovered it. We're talking about shit that happened in the first fucking season now. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. Littlefinger tries to manipulate Bran by remarking on how much chaos he must have lived through to get back to Winterfell. In response, Bran looks at Littlefinger and says, "Chaos is a ladder." Quoting back Littlefinger's own words to him. This is the thing. Any interaction that somebody's going to have with him now, because of his new power, he's going to weird them out. He's going to say something about something he shouldn't know about, and they're going to be like, "What the fuck?"
Or that he remember. Yeah, that's fucked.
Because it keeps happening. You mentioned something, they're like, "How did you know that?" Like, right? So
it's always listening.
Which Littlefinger said to Varys in King's Landing years before, in which Bran couldn't possibly have been physically present to hear himself. Visibly unnerved, Littlefinger is startled by Mura Reed entering the room. He takes his leave of Bran, calling him Lord Stark, though again Bran insists he's not a lord, right? So, okay, so this next scene is kind of
nobody
shitty.
wants to be a Stark anymore.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
This next scene, I kind of felt really bad for Mira, and let's get into it.
Yeah, Crimea River.
After Littlefinger leaves, Mira notices Bran's new wheelchair. He explains Master Wolkin built it for him. She tells him that she has come to tell him she's leaving and say goodbye. She promised to keep him safe, and now that he's back in Winterfell, surrounded by Starks, he's as safe as anyone will be before the coming war. Mira explains that when the White Walkers arrive, she wants to be with her family, so she's heading back to the Neck to assist the Cranogmen. I don't know what the fuck that is. The Neck. She says he doesn't need her in Winterfell anymore. Bran agrees with her, and with a blank emotional face, simply thanks her for her help.
But he wasn't even gonna say thank you, bro.
Because he's just like, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And then Mira just loses her shit to this, like responds. Mira becomes angry that this is all he has to say after everything that they've been through, which is fucking true. They've been through a lot, and she basically says, like, I lost my fucking brother to you. We lost Hodor to you. Like, what's wrong with you, right? And mentions when Hodor and Summer and even her own brother Jojen died for Bran. Bran responds that he isn't really Bran Stark anymore, but the three-eyed raven. He remembers the events of Bran Stark's life, but now remembers vast amounts of other accumulated memories from centuries upon centuries. Everything that once affected Bran Stark now seems distant and trivial to him. In horror, sorry, I've been talking for a long time, guys. In horror, Mira cries that he died in the cave and leaves. So yeah, she basically says Bran Stark, as we know him, died in that fucking cave because like whoever this guy is now, that's what I mean. It's kind of like the thing that she said to the dire wolf. Like she's like, he's not the same, and you're not my dog. Like, you know what I mean? This is the same shit. Like, what? Like, I don't know. I hate him like this.
I always just feel like it has something to do. Like it's the same sort of. It's basically the same sort of storyline as the one where John with what's her name with the redhead there.
When he got brought back to life,
yeah, and then she's dead and gets brought back. He's dead, but gets brought back to like she thinks he's dead. He gets brought back to life by that tree.
You know what it was kind of like? It was like when what's her name, Jason Momoa came and got brought back to life. Remember, and he was like just like his brain wasn't there. Remember when he got brought back to life? That was the first time we saw somebody get brought back to life by a witch woman.
Yeah.
Remember that when she tried to like get him to bring him back to life because the Dothraki wouldn't follow her because she was a woman and like she like and he died on the battlefield, so like they brought him back and he was basically just like a mindless zombie, like a husk of you know what I mean, like an empty shell of like who he was, and she's just like it's not the same because
Bran he's like an empty shell of who he is.
Or it's like what do you call it? Pet Cemetery. It's the same shit. Like sometimes dead is better, right? Like sometimes you can't bring back somebody like they were, right? Like John actually has done a pretty good job.
Well, I'm wondering
too.
Right? I'm wondering too where this story because they were dead and brought back. Could the Night King actually kill them?
But yeah, I just don't like him like this. Like I was just like, this is fucking weird. Like he just skeeves everybody out now that talks to him. He's like, I'm not Bran Stark anymore. Yeah. Like who the fuck am I talking to here? Like yeah, he tells everybody, he's like, hey, I'm the fucking three-eyed raven. Like who the fuck is that? Yeah. No, don't worry about it. He says it again in this episode. It's coming up. Like he's just like, oh yeah, whatever. Don't worry about that. Anyways.
Where's his third eye?
Meanwhile, Arya Stark finally returns to Winterfell. Here we go, guys. They finally reunite these guys. This is great.
Fucking time.
Right? After leaving years before with her father, Sansa and King Robert Baratheon's entourage, right after Bran's fall from the tower, Arya rides up to the gates and dismounts. These three have never been together like they have in this scene coming up in fucking since season 1, right? This is crazy. Rides up to the gate and dismounts, but the guards don't believe her when she says she is in fact Arya Stark. Convinced that Arya has been dead for years, Arya asks if they send word to Maester Luwin and Roderick Castle, hoping either can prove her identity, but unaware that they're both dead. The guards gruffly say that no one by those names is there, so Arya asks for John. The two say that he's left for Winterfell. Arya asks who's in charge of Winterfell then, and they say Lady Stark, who Arya realizes is her sister. They try to brush her aside, but she dodges them with her assassin's reflexes.
That was quick.
Yeah, and insists that one way or another she's getting in. She explains to them that if she is Arya, they'll be in a lot of trouble for turning her away, and if she isn't, she won't last long in Winterfell anyway. Mildly concerned, they agree to at least let her in the courtyard, but insist that she stay put while they consult Sansa so they can disprove her identity. And they start arguing, and during this, she slips away. The two guards go to inform Sansa and try to wave it aside as just some imposter, but then they mention she asked for Luwin and Castle. She instantly realizes it must be Arya and already knows where she has gone. I got scared here for a second because I'm like, did she fuck off again? I couldn't remember. I was just like, if she like got there, because the way that she was looking around and everything, and when she found out that her sister was in charge, in a way, it was almost like she's like, oh, she's got things in order here. All right, I'm gonna fuck off now again, right? Like she could have done that in that moment. She could have been like, yeah, you know what? This isn't home anymore. I'm gone, right? And off to King's Landing, right? So I like that she stayed. I was like, thank fucking God.
This season, maybe she wants to be a security over there. Who knows with this?
Very true.
This episode.
Very true. This was a good scene actually coming up. Yeah. Sansa finds Arya where she expected in the crypts, looking over their father Ned's grave. They are happy to see each other, but so much has happened to both of them in the past few years that they are at first awkward, unsure of what to say to one another. Arya asks if she has to call Sansa Lady Stark now, to which Sansa firmly insists yes and laughs. They smile and hug, though still a bit unsure. Arya notes that Jon left her in charge and smiles when Sansa says that she hopes Jon will be back soon. He will be both surprised and happy to see Arya, Sansa remembering how happy Jon was to see her when they were first reunited. The sisters then look sadly on their father's grave statue. Arya says it doesn't really look like him. Sansa acknowledges that everyone who knew his face well is dead now. Arya points out that they're not. Nice to see these two reunited, though. Do you like this moment?
Yeah. It was different. It was like, that didn't even look like Ned's face.
Right.
It just looked like a blob.
Right. Good point, though. Like she said, anybody who would have remembered is now gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Arya then asks if Sansa killed Joffrey, as everyone believes. She explains she actually didn't, though she wished she had. Arya remarks that he was always at the top of her list. Then this confuses Sansa, and Arya explains that she's been keeping a list of everyone she was going to kill, at which they both laugh. Finally, Sansa asks how Arya got back, but she only says her road wasn't a pleasant one. Sansa says hers wasn't either. They hug again, earnestly and warmly. Sansa then informs Arya that Bran is home too. Arya is really excited, but her face falls when Sansa makes no mention of Rickon, immediately realizing that this means Rickon is dead, right? So yeah, that kind of sucks. But and then things get weird again. Sansa brings Arya to Bran in the Godswood, where he is lost in thought by the weirwood heart tree. Arya is saddened to see him so paralyzed. Still somewhat detached even at the sight of Arya, he says he isn't surprised she's alive because he saw her at the crossroads. Arya is confused, and Sansa explains that Bran is having visions now. Bran says he thought...
Special now that he fell out of the tree.
Bran says he thought Arya was going to King's Landing, and then when Sansa asks why she would head there of all places, he again startles them both by saying it's because Cersei is on her list of names, which he can't possibly be aware of through normal means, right? Yeah. Sansa asks who else is on her list, now like believing this list, because before she thought it was just a joke. Yeah. But she says most of them besides Cersei are actually dead already.
Yeah, he's not wrong about that either. Like, I don't know, man.
Anyways, they then remark on the Valyrian steel dagger in his lap, and he explains that Littlefinger gave it to him, Sansa, thinking he'd want it, despite it being such a horrible keepsake that nearly killed him and indirectly set off a chain of events leading to his parents' deaths. He is still listless and disinterested in it. Arya is confused. He's like, why would I need this sword? Yeah, whatever.
Useless for a cripple.
Yeah. Arya is confused as to why a common cutthroat would have a rare, priceless blade of Valyrian steel. Bran matter-of-factly says that someone very wealthy wanted him dead and gave it to the assassin. Sansa acknowledges she doesn't actually trust Littlefinger and that he'd never give anyone anything unless expecting something in return. Good point.
It is a good point.
Bran says that it doesn't matter because he doesn't even want it. Instead, Bran hands it to Arya and says she could have it, saying the dagger would be wasted on a cripple. Yeah. Arya slowly takes the dagger and looks at it.
That's too funny.
Right?
Like just nothing. Like I'd rather stare at this tree.
He's like, yeah, I find this tree more interesting. Yeah, here, take this. He's like, I don't want this.
I know what's gonna happen if I use it.
Oh,
Nothing.
Brand's a fucking buzzkill now.
Well, maybe it's because he knows the future and he knows like, hey,
Yeah,
he knows
he's all knowing.
what am I gonna
now,
do?
right?
I'm just sitting here.
He's all knowing. He's like,
Yeah.
whatever, I don't need this. Sansa, Bran, and Arya, the three remaining Trueborn Stark children, then proceed back to the Winterfell's castle courtyard together, with Arya pushing Bran in his wheelchair. Brienne of Tarth, this is a weird fucking looking scene though. Brienne of Tarth and Podrick Payne see them from afar, all three of Catelyn Stark's surviving children reunited.
Mm.
Pod says Catelyn would, this was good. Prod says Catelyn would be proud of Brienne because she kept her oath, but she gives him shit that she did next to nothing. Basically, Pod says he disagrees with my lady, and Brienne starts to correct him that she doesn't consider herself a lady, but then she stops halfway and just thanks him for the compliment. Like she's now also, I think, from her talks with Jamie, I think now, and remember she confided in him that she was embarrassed by that guy, like pretended that he was interested in her, and it seems like Jamie kind of instilled in her a new respect in herself. Like he's like, I don't like Jamie was kind of like because she can tell like he was in love with her, right? You know what I mean? So I think like she thinks of herself more now as a lady as a result of the love from Jamie, right? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, right. So yeah. Where are we going now?
It always just alluded to her not being a lady. It would never say, but it never actually until now it really confirming that she's a lady. You know, even with that whole thing where
she's a knight, she hasn't really been given the opportunity to like be in love with anybody, really, right? Like because some
people just don't get.
It's not just that, like it was hard, and I mean it's because of how she talked about how they made a cruel joke of her being a big beastly fucking woman that she is because she's fucking huge.
I didn't like a bodyguard like that if I had a girlfriend.
But then it kind of gave her she thought bad of herself after that. Like her self-esteem was ruined. Yeah, which again, being a woman, like, it's gonna be hard for maybe a woman her size to kind of find somebody that, you know what I mean? Like, not to say there's no one out there be interested in a woman like, you know what I mean? Like her, but like, I get it. She has low self-esteem because of that. And and also she's already got all this, like everything is against her because she's a woman as a knight. There's no fucking women knight in this world, right? Like that's what I mean. So the stakes are already as high as they can be for her in terms of like people getting respect from anybody, right? Like, right. So it's interesting, but she's a great fighter, as we're about to see later on in this episode, right? So
it's so funny, but even like a lot of the women don't get treated well, but then they end up taking over. It looks like
literally the most like powerful people in the show now are all women. Yeah.
So it like totally turned around.
On Dragonstone, Daenerys Targaryen and Missandei make their way down to the beach to meet Jon Snow. Missandei is worried about Grey Worm because they haven't heard any news from Casterly Rock yet. Daenerys asks what happened between her and Grey Worm, and Missandei just says many things, smiling. Many things. She's like, "Oh, what do you mean many things?" She's like, "They're about to have some girl talk there, but it's interrupted, right?"
It's interrupted.
Jon then leads Daenerys on a tour of the long-abandoned Valyrian Dragonglass mine that Sam told him about. The mine is ancient and impressive, used by the first men long before the Valyrians came to Dragonstone. But this is not why Jon asked Daenerys to come. This was cool too because they talk about the children of the forest in this scene too, about the first men, like of like, you know what I mean, like that that they've talked about too with Buddy. Three-Eyed Raven was part of those people, right? So like that's kind of cool. Again, they're kind of connecting all the dots or shit and
trying to.
You kind of see like a hieroglyphic type of shit on the wall, right? Almost like ancient Egypt type style. Trying, yeah.
Carvings or whatever you want to call it.
As they proceed deeper into the mines led by Torchlight, Jon shows her cave paintings they discovered left behind by the children of the forest, like just like cavemen essentially, filled with arcane magical symbols. Daenerys is stunned that the mythical children stood where they are standing now, thousands upon thousands of years ago, long before mankind ever arrived in Westeros. Jon says this isn't exactly true, leading her into another chamber, this one filled with narrative drawings of the children and the first men. Daenerys wonders if the children and the first men fought each other, but then Jon shows her ancient carvings of the White Walkers themselves, like white figures on the wall. So it's kind of like Ancient Aliens type shit. He's
Kinda
like,
like,
see,
well, but it's like they've been taken over before.
and he's trying to show
That far
her,
south, north.
no, they fought against these people,
Yeah.
like, and if we don't fucking do something, we're gonna be wiped out as well, like these people were, right? Like, yeah. One of which John recognizes as an image of the Night King. John explains that the children of the forest in the first men only managed to drive off the White Walkers the first time during the long night because they chose to join together to fight off their own extinction. And that is the choice between John and Daenerys now. History is repeating itself essentially here. So John asks Daenerys to ally with him to defeat the Night King when Daenerys says that she will fight for him in the north after he bends the knee. There it is again. You love it, eh?
Like, it's like, seriously.
John tells her that the North won't accept the Southern ruler again after everything that has happened to them. Daenerys urges that they will if their king does. If his point in showing her the cave drawings was that she should swallow her pride and ally with him because the White Walkers are such a world-ending threat, by the same token, the North should submit to her because their survival should outweigh their pride. And like, I just think it's funny for her to say that to fucking Jon Snow of all fucking people, because like this guy's put his pride aside for literally every fucking decision he's made ever on this show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to say that, like, oh yeah, you're not bending the knee because of your pride is like completely opposite of the point that he's trying to fucking make. Like, it's literally not Jon Snow whatsoever, right? Like, that's just, I thought that was stupid that she would fucking make that comment. Like, I get it. It's because of the people that respect him that he doesn't want to do it. I get that, because he doesn't want to lose their faith in him, right? But it's not about pride.
It's like her not wanting to lose her faith, her people losing their
Right.
faith in her, right? So
Right.
it's all one and the same.
It's they're at a standstill over this. They both have to agree to disagree on this whole fucking thing, then come together, right? So yeah, no, for sure. Again, revisiting this, I can see why there's certain aspects of this show that are starting to become annoying, because we've already said the brand weirdness, the fucking bending of the knee. There's other things too coming up, but there's these, it's starting to add up some of the things where it's just like annoyances in this show all of a sudden. So as they exit the cave to the beach, they are joined by Varys and Tyrion, which with grave looks on their faces. They inform her that the Unsullied succeeded in capturing Casterly Rock, only to then reveal the disaster which just occurred at Highgarden as Tyrion's military strategy fell apart. Casterly Rock was only a feint, and the Lannisters didn't bother defending it in order to make a surprise attack south, which sacked Highgarden. Daenerys is furious and struggles to keep her temper, as now all three of her major allies in Westeros are gone, and she has gained is a castle with no supplies. She snaps at Tyrion, blaming his cautious strategy for losing them Dorne, the Iron Islands, and now the Reach. She then accuses Tyrion of wanting to use a light hand against the Lannisters because they're his own people. Tyrion a theory that Jay, you mentioned a little while ago, that you thought maybe that would be the case, right? That Tyrion is playing both sides of the fence here, right? Tyrion insists that they still have just enough ships left to at least shuttle the Dothraki from Dragonstone to the nearby mainland coast, even with the loss of all their other allies. Her combined Unsullied Dothraki forces are still the largest single army in Westeros. Daenerys fumes that her vast numbers are useless if she can't feed them all, and that was the Reach's true strategic value. Daenerys decides she has had enough of clever plans and will use the Dothraki and her dragons in a direct assault to turn the tide of the war back in her favor. She desires to assault the Red Keep with all three of her dragons, intending to raze it to the ground with all her enemies inside it, but Jon argues against such a course of action. When she asks him his opinion by bringing the dragons back to life and breaking the back of the slave trade, Daenerys has proven she might be capable of doing things differently. However, if she uses her dragons to melt castles and burn cities, she'll be no different from any of the more tyrannical of her Targaryen ancestors who came before her.
It should be just like the people she's saying that she shouldn't, for the sins of their father or whatever, pay for it.
Yeah, I thought this was a great Jon Snow speech in this scene, honestly, to convince her actions otherwise of what she was deciding to do in this moment. And I also thought this was a rare moment of Tyrion's judgment being brought into question, because normally he's kind of making all the right calls, but he's had defeat after defeat in this whole thing so far. And I get why she's questioning his allegiance at this point, right? Which is, not great on his on his part, because now she's got him questioning whether or not he's actually down with her, or if she's just leading their armies into failure, right? Because of his family.
Yeah.
So
it gets you wondering, what her choice is ultimately going to be here.
Yeah.
Right before the end of the show.
Yeah,
I would think.
So Sometime later in this next scene here, Brienne is going through a sword practice with Podrick, knocking him
That's
down
cool.
when he overextends himself. Impressed, Arya interrupts and says she'd like to spar with Brienne, the woman who beat the Hound in combat, as she now knows because of their last, she didn't go with her last time, right?
Yeah.
And she only caught the Hound injured after she fucked him up, right?
Yeah.
Which they both don't know he's still alive, which is another interesting thing that's I'm sure is going to come to pass at some point, right? Sansa and Littlefinger watch on silently from the walkway above. Brienne goes easy on her at first, but then Arya completely outmaneuvers Brienne using the water dance training she received from Syrio Forel.
She was good, man.
By her training with the Faceless Men as well. Arya achieves many openings that would be a killing blow if she wanted them to be. Surprised that such a young girl is so skilled, Brienne stops holding back. You're really getting fucking pissed off in this scene.
She's still only using a small little fucking sword,
kicking
too,
her
right?
and shit, right? She fucking ends up like just booting her in there in this fight. This is a great
She's
little
just
fight.
like, fuck you, bitch. Get on my way.
Leading to a more grueling sparring session. Yeah, because at first she was like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll entertain this, right?
Yeah.
She's like, whatever. Yeah, Arya Stark. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then she fucking starts pulling slick moves on her, right? She's
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Brienne actually manages to knock Needle out of Arya's hand, but she simply switches to the Valerian steel dagger
cool.
she now has in her belt. Arya uses her speed and agility to compensate for Brienne's strength and decides to overwhelm her until Brienne actually manages to bring her brute strength to bear on a fast-moving target by landing a kick on Arya's chest that sends her falling down.
Fucking 12-foot shoe.
Ultimately, they reach a stalemate with each of them holding a blade at each other's throat. Brienne asks Arya who taught her to fight like that, and she simply responds, no one.
No one. There you go.
Arya takes her leave of Brienne, now both mutually impressed as Sansa looks down, baffled and concerned at how her sister reached such a deadly skill level. And I think that's why you made that comment earlier, like maybe she should be the one guarding her now as a result of all this, right?
Well, of course. I think because she got away from the guards without them even noticing. That's what I mean.
And she called them out. That's what she said. She's like, your guards are shit. Like,
Yeah,
she's like,
guards.
right? Like, Arya herself then glares at an equally surprised Littlefinger, who gives a fucking creepy ass look, like always.
And then it looks even creepier because
he's like,
looking
oh,
at her.
Brienne.
Like, yeah.
Arya.
Oh, that's like looking like a little kid, man. That's what she's like. I can picture him saying it like that.
That's
Arya.
literally his only purpose now. Is like they keep cutting to him and his creepy ass fucking looks as he's observing.
He's getting paid more
right?
money. This now he's fucking just have looks. He's seen strategy before somewhere.
Man. So I think JT should learn something from this guy about his creepy ass looks. Sansa.
That's it, eh?
Later,
I mumble anyway, so I can get away with it.
That's true, yeah. Later, Jon and Davos Seaworth proceed back up to the castle. Davos remarks that Jon seems attracted to Daenerys.
Everybody.
Yeah, the line specifically is like, oh, so what do you think of her? She's like, oh, she has a good heart. I've got you staring at her good heart. You know, Davos, yeah. He's like, shut up. Davos is like, I know, I've seen you staring at her heart. Daenerys. No, it doesn't work as well.
No.
Jon says Daenerys has a good heart, but brushes Davos's observation aside, saying he doesn't have time for that, as he has seen the Night King and his horde of the undead. So no time for banging, apparently. Jon stresses that they need to ally with Daenerys because the North itself is largely depleted of soldiers after so many years of war and the Red Wedding. So they only have maybe 10,000 soldiers or less left, to which Davos corrects fewer. He then runs into Missandei again, who politely inquires why Jon's surname is Snow, even though House Stark has ruled the North for centuries, and his father Ned and brother Robb both have the surname Stark, while he doesn't. Jon explains that because his parents weren't married, he is a bastard born, and as a result uses the regional surname Snow, the name reserved for highborn northern bastards of nobility. Davos asks Missandei if they have similar customs for bastards on Noth, Missandei's birthplace. She explains that marriage as such does not exist in Noth, so she finds the idea of a bastard to be quite an alien concept. Davos remarks that it sounds liberating. He then asks why she left, to which Missandei finally reveals that she was taken by slavers to be freed only years later by Daenerys. When Davos suggests Missandei simply traded one master for another, she counters that she and all the freed slaves serve Daenerys because they choose to. Davos keeps pushing, asking what would happen if Missandei decided to return to Noth immediately. She responds that Daenerys give her a ship and wish her good fortune. You think that's true, Jay?
I don't know. I mean, she was good to her, so I don't know.
Yeah. That's
right?
true. That's the whole reason that she's there is
Yeah.
because of her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it might not be for everybody, but it could get away, could help her, right?
So then we get like the fifth craziest fucking meetup this next scene. Theon and John see each other for like the first
Yeah, I
time,
know,
right?
right? Since like what is that the first season?
Yeah. These are all fucking like first season encounters here that we're seeing for this. That's what I mean. This is all fucking set up in this one. While they are still on the causeway, they see a lone Ironborn ship approaching the island, a survivor of Yara Greyjoy's fleet. Theon Greyjoy himself and some of his men come to shore on a rowboat. As Theon disembarks, he is stunned to see Jon Snow, whom he had last seen leaving Winterfell to join the Night's Watch, which would have been first season. Since then, Theon has betrayed House Stark, a factor, although not the only one, that nearly destroyed House Stark and contributed to the deaths of two of Jon's half-brothers, Robb and Rickon.
He was mad.
Yeah. Jon is stunned for a moment as well. Theon walks up to Jon and asks him if Sansa, Jon's half-sister, is all right. A furious Jon angrily grabs Theon by his coat and shakes him, remembering Theon's past treachery. Jon tells Theon that what he did to save Sansa is the only reason that he's not killing him on the spot, and releases him. Visibly relieved, Theon informs them that Euron Greyjoy attacked their fleet and took Yara prisoner. Even though he knows she's dead, right? Like, did he not see her on the one? He did. So, like, I don't know why he's kind of lying here in a way. Yeah. He says he has returned to ask Daenerys' help in saving her. Yeah. Jon grudgingly tells him that Daenerys has just left. Yeah. So, fucking Theon, man. Yeah.
I thought.
What are we going to do with this guy, man?
I don't know, bro. I already feel bad for him, kind of, because he has no weenie.
Still? You still feel bad for him? Come on,
bro. He's got no weenie, bro. If he had to cut you, if he did all that to you, I mean, I kind of feel bad. It's the worst, and then you have to live without having one. You know. So
now we're kind of reaching. This is the last sequence of event. This is all now in the same kind of like fight now with Jaime here, as we see Daenerys kind of takes this war efforts into her own hands here. So here we go. Sometime later, Jaime Lannister's army has advanced much further north and reaches the Blackwater Rush. Lord Randall Tarly comes to Jaime and says they should hurry to get all of their grain wagons over the Blackwater River to King's Landing, as they will be vulnerable if their formation is caught on both sides of the river. Jaime agrees, but Randall suggests flogging the stragglers to motivate them. Jaime urges that his soldiers fought well at Highgarden, however, and he should at least give them a fair warning first instead of launching right into the flogging. Jaime and Bronn then encounter Randall's son, Dickon Tarly, which fucking Bronn loves. He's like, Dickon, eh? Like, this fucking guy.
Say Rickon at first, and I think he mistaken. He goes, no, Dickon. I think he wanted to hear him say it first.
Yeah. That was pretty funny, right?
Yeah. He's a little much, eh? He's a little interesting, Bronn.
Jaime asks what he thought of this first taste of battle, and Dickon nervously claims it was glorious, only to then admit that he was quite conflicted. House Tarly has been loyal, like vassals of the Tyrells for generations. He knew many of the men they killed, even hunted side by side with them. Jaime replies those men didn't deserve to die, but says the fault belongs to Olenna Tyrell because she chose to side with Daenerys Targaryen against Queen Cersei. Dickon then outright confesses that the aftermath was horrible, particularly the stench of corpses. Bronn playfully taunts Dickon, a sheltered nobleman, finally learned that men empty their bowels when they die, right?
Yeah, I learned that when I was 4.
Right? The line was, men shit themselves when they die. Didn't they teach you that in that fancy lad school that you went to? Fancy lad school. That's what he says. Yeah, I learned that like on the battlefield, and I was like 4 or something. Yeah,
something easy. Like
the line though, fancy lad school got me. He's like, oh, they didn't teach you that in fancy lad school over there. I love Bronn.
That's what I mean. He's an interesting character still. I hope nothing happens to him.
Yeah, well, in a sense, it's kind of crazy. The Lannister army and wagon train continue east, approaching a river. Jaime and Bronn are then surprised to hear what sounds like distant thunder until they realize it must be approaching cavalry. Jaime and Randall shout for their soldiers to form up, which they manage to do before the enemy crest over the horizon. A massive 100,000 strong horde of the Thraki cavalry, armed to the teeth and baying for blood. Bronn advises that Jaime ride ahead to King's Landing, but Jaime insists he will not abandon his men. He's not a fucking Theon, this guy. He's like, no, I'm not fucking leaving my boys behind. Yeah, see, I like that. Bronn bluntly tells him that the Dothraki will quickly overwhelm the Lannister lines, and Jaime is too valuable as a commander to stay and fight. But Jaime insists that they have a chance if they hold.
He insists.
I mean, listen, this guy is fucking a war vet, bro, a grizzled war vet. Like, Jaime has been through many fucking battles and survived to tell the tale, right? So, like, I get it. He's like, fuck that, right?
It's all strategy.
Right? I like it. But I also get what Bronn's saying. And, like, the fact that Bronn was literally willing to stay there and be like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. Like,
I'll do it.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty slick, though. He's just like, no, what kind of a leader would I be if I left my men behind, right? I like that, right?
Yeah.
In an instant, Jaime and Bronn look to the sky in awe and horror as all other sound is drowned out by a massive roar. A roar not heard on the battlefields of Westeros in over a century and a half. Above the approaching Dothraki, the Lannister army see a huge adult dragon part the cloud cover itself and heading straight for their lines. Drogon, ridden by Daenerys Targaryen herself. Drogon outpaces the Dothraki, and at Daenerys' command, Dracarys, he blasts a torrent of fire through the Lannister ranks in a straight line from front to back, punching a hole in their formation. The highly mobile Dothraki light cavalry immediately sweep through it and wheel around to catch those parts of the Lannister lines in an enveloping move. What'd you think of this, Jay?
Crazy.
Yeah. Seeing her ride in on the dragon and doing that, sick. Yeah.
I didn't even know she was going to be riding in, but I knew the dragon was there, but then I seen her on top of it.
Again, I just wrote down the battle effects. It looked a lot better than it ever has. Well done. I thought best looking dragons yet on the show, honestly, in this scene. I thought like it really holds up, honestly.
I wonder if any horses were hurt in the making of this film.
The Lannister Tarly lines around Jaime and Randall, however, managed to rally under their leadership. The Dothraki charge into the Lannister lines head on, but meet stiff resistance as their spear wall holds firm. Though they are outnumbered, the Lannister soldiers are better armed with heavy infantry and highly disciplined, battle-hardened veterans from years of war. Dothraki horse archers let off shots before charging into their ranks, but highly trained Tarly archers return fire, doing as much, if not more, damage as the Dothraki wear less armor. Right. So they both have kind of one-ups on each other a little bit.
They the big one up.
Yeah, the dragons are like, yeah, but like they both obviously approach war differently, these two, right? I think that's what's interesting that they're them. The Lannister army holds their line for a time, but their enemy has the advantage of weight in numbers, and the tide turns slowly against them. The sheer tide of horses smashes through the shield wall, opening up gaps for those behind to charge through. Like Jaime's people are more experienced in war and have a better understanding of what to do in this situation, where the others are just like barbaric, like the way they're just gonna go in, but they're just simply overpowering them, right? They're okay losing a shitload of fucking people to battle, even though they're not as well trained as Jaime's men, because they just have so many fucking people compared to them, right, in this battle. So
and they also don't have the Lannisters there now that don't have fire jackets. So I mean,
yeah, that's it's a big one. For a moment, it looks like Jaime might at least be able to force the Dothraki to a standstill, but then Daenerys wheels out of the air again, devastating the Lannister formations. No longer trying to punch mere holes through their lines, she switches to outflanking the Lannister ranks, burning a vast horizontal swath of men from left to right, as you were saying, obliterating much of the Lannister wagon train in the process. Men are flash burned into nothing but ash right? Which crumbles to the touch. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you: those things that they burnt, those wagons? Were they was that the one that gold, or no? The gold's already on its way. Because I can't remember. I know, but it never alluded to them leaving at the same time.
The gold is there. The gold is in this fight. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Because I know
the gold is in this fight. The gold that they owe the bank is in this battle. Yes.
I thought it might have been in those big ass fucking.
They're literally in the midst of transporting it right now when they got attacked.
Because I didn't know if they had split up and then all of a sudden they got attacked quickly, because stuff's moving so quickly.
I'm pretty certain the gold is here with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck. Holy shit.
So good point. Men are flash burned into nothing but ash, which crumbles to the touch, or cooked alive in their own spear heated armor. Yeah, as they struggle to rip it off, dousing themselves in the river.
Did you see some of those guys burning, bro, when they were taking their helmets off?
Bro, it's true. You're gonna get cooked in there. Like it's just fucking keeping all the heat in, right? Yeah, crazy.
And it doesn't matter if it's even on flame, if it's on fire,
or the armor is just gonna like meld to your fucking skin because it's gonna burn, right? Yeah.
Oh man, then you gotta call salmon to peel it off.
Nonetheless, Jaime manages to rally his remaining forces a second time. desperately taking command of a group of surviving Lannister and Tarly archers and directing them to concentrate their fire at the dragon. Drogon might not be vulnerable to common arrow fire, but his rider is. If they can manage to kill Daenerys herself, who has risked appearing in open battle, the entire war could end in a day, no matter their losses. Daenerys sees the attack coming, however, and banks Drogon up so the arrow volley harmlessly bounces off the armor scales on his belly. He then blasts the archer formations with fire. Jaime avoids the flames and is surrounded by enemies, but he manages to carve a path through the Dothraki with his Valyrian steel sword, Widow's Wail, to try to reach safety. He gets in trouble for a moment when he locks swords with a Dothraki dual-wielding two Aurochs, but Dickon Tarly stabs the Dothraki from behind, saving Jaime in this scene.
Dickon to the rescue.
To the rescue, yeah.
Dickon stabs him in the back.
Jaime stabs him with his dick. Yeah, Jaime commands Bronn to reach Qyburn's anti-dragon scorpion bolt launcher, which they have here, which was a surprise that they reveal that, as Jaime cannot fire it one-handed, which they happen to have on hand, which is one of the few wagons not destroyed in the flames. After a moment's hesitation, Bronn fights his way back. His mad dash to get there is fucking crazy. This scene, Bronn, like how he fucking tries to get to that thing because
everything.
He's like, oh, the scorpion's over there. He's like, oh yeah, well, how about it then? He tells him like, Bronn's like, go for it. And then he's like, I can't shoot it with one hand. And Bronn just like, he's like, fuck you, man. Yeah,
he's like, I gotta go. It's like, and on the way there, fair to say too, something happens as he falls too. It trips me out. Right?
Yeah. Bronn fights his way back, killing several Dothraki along the way until one cuts off his horse's leg and sends him sprawling, losing his large bag of gold in the process. Yeah.
Fucking nuts, man. It's the only gold he had.
Yep. Bronn continues to fight his way back on foot, chased by the same Dothraki warrior who follows him to the wagon he was looking for, just in time to stare down the business end of a loaded scorpion, which was pretty sick. That was pretty fun. Like he
flew across the quick.
He opens up the drapes and he's like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone, where he's like, hello, and he's got like the shot, and the guy where he like puts his head through like it's kind of like that. Yeah. At the doggy door.
He just checks, and next thing you know, he's stuck to the wall, and there's something else on the other side.
Yeah. He barely has time to realize his fate before Bronn fires a bolt into him, flinging him 20 feet and pitting his corpse to another wagon. Yeah. Bronn reloads the scorpion as fast as he can, spots the dragon in the distance. And fires, but misses. Daenerys is startled by the scorpion bolt flying a few feet from her head, scans the battlefield, and spots Bronn on the scorpion as he reloads. Enraged at his direct attack on Drogon, Daenerys then leads Drogon on a direct charge, diving straight down at Bronn on the scorpion launcher, who waits for her to approach close enough that he hopefully won't miss before she is right on top of him. He fires another shot, which impales Drogon's right shoulder. The mighty dragon lets out an awful screech and collapses in shock, helplessly dropping into a free fall from hundreds of feet in the air. Were you worried here, Jay, for the dragon or what?
No. I figured he'd catch himself.
I just wrote here, I was so scared for Bronn running around in this way. And I honestly couldn't remember if he got killed in this scene, to be honest with you, Jay. I couldn't remember. I'm like, oh no. Bronn is super happy about this, but only for Daenerys to quickly break Drogon out of his fall right before they hit the ground, which would have killed them both. The surviving Lannister soldiers then realize that not only is Drogon not dead, he is in a lot of pain and extremely angry now. Hovering above the river, Drogon set his sights on the device which did this to him and angrily sends a fire blast at the scorpion, destroying it a matter of seconds after Bronn narrowly jumps out of the way to safety. Okay, the graphics weren't that good with that, bro. It seemed like you were literally on two different places.
Yeah. Like, you can see that screen was added in afterwards, bro. Yeah.
The way he jumps away.
It was too close.
It looks so fake. Yeah. That was the one part where it failed for me. It was just it took me kind of out of it for a second. I'm like, oh my god.
Well, even some of the guys that were burning on fire, bro, they were completely covered and they were walking around. It looked kind of weird, right?
Yeah. The dragon's armored scales are so tough that the scorpion bolt only managed to cause superficial damage. Nonetheless, the flesh wound grounds Drogon, and he howls in pain and fury, destroying the burning scorpion with a swipe of his tail. Any masses of enemy soldiers that are foolish or unlucky enough to get near him are burned alive. Daenerys dismounts and desperately tries to remove the scorpion bolt. So it's kind of interesting, though, because they did find something that does is effective against the dragons in this scene, right? Like it is. Like
You
it
just can't go through the meaty parts. It looks like.
So just think though, if they brought one to this battle far away from King's Landing, if they were to get a bunch of them in King's Landing, then they may stand a chance if dragons come, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it. It was a good scene because it proved that these are effective against against them, right?
Yeah.
So by this point, the devastation caused by the dragon and the sheer number of Dothraki have totally overwhelmed the Lannister lines. And with the Scorpion destroyed, their last hope is gone, and battle turns into another rout and massacre. The Dothraki who live for combat show the fleeing Westerosi no mercy and cut them down gleefully on and off horseback. Tyrion Lannister views the battle from the distance of a nearby hill, along with the Dothraki commander Quono, who remarks that Tyrion's people can't fight. Tyrion looks gravely on the battlefield, realizing that these are in fact his own countrymen from the Westerlands and House Lannister being massacred, men who Tyrion had previously fought alongside at the battles of the Green Fork and Blackwater. And this is the moment where he really feels fucking horrible, like for once, about what he's actually done by siding against Jaime. And literally Jaime is out there, possibly he could be dying at this moment, right? And yeah, he's got mixed feelings in this moment. You can tell by just looking at his face, like what Daenerys was afraid of with him kind of feeling a way about this is all over his face in this moment, right? He's kind of like, oh, what have I done? You know what I mean? Like at the time when he hated his family and they exiled him from fucking, he had to leave King's Landing for his own life. I just feel like he has some remorse in this scene. Like he's just
I think Jaime's the one to kind of help him out, right? Before.
Yeah, and it's just the horror of war too, right? Like
he's
Tyrion.
I seen him when he was yelling.
Tyrion has been on a couple of battles. Yeah, he's like, you fucking idiot, you fucking idiot. Don't fuck. Yeah, coming up here in this last scene. Yeah. Jaime, however, sees that Daenerys is grounded and immobilized and realizes he still has one chance. I gotta respect him for going for this because, again, if he kills her, the war is over, right? Like, I get it. It's a smart move.
But who's going to control the dragons if she kills them? That's the thing.
If he can kill Daenerys even now, he can end her invasion. Jaime grabs a spear, sees his chance, and charges his horse across the flaming battlefield to make a death run for Daenerys as she tends to her dragon. Tyrion swears under his breath, calling his brother a fucking idiot, angry that he's going to get himself killed.
It was so close.
Just as Jaime is nearly on top of Daenerys, however, Drogon notices him amidst the chaos of the battle, shielding Daenerys behind his head. The dragon opens his mouth and his throat glows with the promise of fiery death, just as Drogon unleashes the flames. Bronn, the fucking MVP in this episode, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, see him, right?
Yeah, rides in and tackles Jaime off his horse, leaving their poor mounts to be consumed instead. They both fall into the river where Jaime is weighed down by his armor and sinks beneath the waters in danger of drowning. And the episode fucking ends.
It's like
on such a fucking cliffhanger,
are
guys.
They dead, man? Are they drowning? Because that's heavy fucking shit that they got on. I don't know if they can swim with that on.
Bronn to the fucking rescue, though, man. He saved his ass, possibly saved his ass here at the end. And who do we know if Bronn got hit by the flame though, and then fell into the water? We don't even know that right now, right?
No,
so,
we don't know any of that. That sucks.
What a way to fucking end this episode. But yeah, Bronn is literally the MVP as far as I'm concerned, because not only did he shoot that bull up against the dragon, he also fucking saved Jaime in that moment at the end too by knocking him off the horse.
He wants his fucking castle because he doesn't have any gold, man.
He lost his gold now. Bro, none of them have any fucking gold now. I think they lost all the gold. So
the Iron Bank's coming for them, I think. Repo.
Things are about to get fucking dicey now. Bro. So yeah, so there you go, guys. As we've witnessed
over the
last few episodes, they keep clapping back one up again, like, you know, things that so, oh yeah, you're gonna kill my fleet on the water, okay, you're gonna stop me at Casterly Rock, all right. So she fucking took it into her own hands here after all the advisement against it. And she fucking went head first into. She didn't attack King's Landing, so no one else seen it other than the army. But she took matters in her own hands and fucking threw down in this scene. And I gotta say, this was probably her most badass moment thus far in the series, right? Like seeing her ride around that dragon, Daenerys.
Yeah.
You could say all you want about, you know, how she handled with like freeing the slaves and all that other shit, but this was fucking cool. What's that?
And all the bending the knee.
Bending the knee.
let's count how many more times we can get it. The next episodes. I feel like it's gonna be just the only word she uses now on.
Oh, there's more of it. Yeah. Or hold on, I gotta check the next episode name here because I don't actually have it pulled up here. Let's see. But yeah, that's another episodes in the books here, guys. So overall, there's some good stuff still in here, but not enough, I think, to say it's like a greatest episode or anything. Far from it. Just a lot of setup, more and more setup. Jesus, a lot of setup, but yeah, a lot of bending of the knees. So the next episode is called Eastwatch, guys, which is going to be episode 5 of season 7, and we only got 3 more fucking episodes to go this season, guys. 7 episodes this season, and then only 6 in the remaining season. So it'll be good.
It'll be nice.
Yeah, it'll be good to finish it all off when it's all said and done. And I'm looking forward to talking about House of the Dragon next. So yeah, it's been a fun time. So
yes, it has, sir.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us on this episode here, episode 64 of Watching the Throne. Jay, thank you as always. Make sure you like and subscribe, everybody. These shows do drop Thursdays at 8 p.m. So stay tuned next week for the next one and check out some of the other content on our channel. Thank you. And I've talked myself out of it tonight. Yeah.
I know this.
That's enough now. All right, guys. I'm sure you're sick of hearing me, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Jay.
Peace out, buddy.